Hey guys, this is your host Thomas Tyree here from On the Hot Podcast. Today, this would be the Combat Series episode number 84 for you guys today. And we're going to be kicking off this week's episode with sharing my David Benavidez versus David Morrell fight prediction. So, this will be the PBC's first pay-per-view event for the calendar year 2025, and they're kicking off with a bang. David Benavidez will be defending his interim light heavyweight WBC title against David Morrell. So this is a big-time fight taking place at the light heavyweight division. These are the following storylines I have heading into this big-time fight. So who walks away with bragging rights from this big fight between David Benavidez and David Morrell? Because David Benavidez and David Morrell are two guys that do not like each other. The bad blood is there. It's been boiling over as the fight has been built up by the PBC. The trash talking has been very hot and heavy between the two respective fighters. The build up for the PBC, when the two respective fighters have been in each other's faces, there's been championship belts being thrown at each other. The respect is out of the window. I mean, they even almost nearly fought each other during the photo shoots when these two respective fighters were building up the fight. So the bad blood is there. We're going to see which fighter walks away with the bragging rights in this big time fight taking place at the light heavyweight division. And speaking of the light heavyweight division, what does the future hold of this division? Because this fight between David Benavidez and David Morrell is so important for the future of the 175-pound division for 2025, because David Benavidez is the interim WBC champion. There's another big-time fight that's going to take place in February at the light heavyweight division, with Arthur Beterbiev defending his undisputed titles against Dimitri Bivol in that highly anticipated rematch. So the winner of this fight between the two respective Davids and the winner of that Dimitri Bivol versus Arthur Beterbiev rematch, I think the winner of this fight and the winner of that fight, they're going to be on a collision course to have an undisputed championship fight in the second half of 2025. So that's why this fight between David Benavidez and David Morrell is so important, because the winner will most likely get an undisputed championship fight at some point in 2025. So there's a lot riding at stake here. The future implications in this division. Bragging rights for the winner. But enough of the storylines. Let's get into the tail of the tape for the fight. So starting off with David Morrell. David Morrell is 11-0. He has 9 victories come away of knockout. Currently stands at 6'1" and has a reach of 78 inches. And then I'm looking at David Benavidez, the Mexican monster. David Benavidez is 29-0. 24 victories come away of knockout, stands at 6'2" and has a reach of 74 inches. So the height advantage goes to David Benavidez, but the reach advantage goes in favor of David Morrell. We'll see if the height and the reach play a factor in this big time fight taking place at the 175-pound division. So these are the following game plans that I have for these respective fighters to follow if they don't want to walk out with bragging rights and walk away with the interim WBC light heavyweight title that could possibly set them up for an undisputed championship fight down the line in 2025. Start off with David Morrell. I think David Morrell, what he's really going to have to do against David Benavidez, he's going to have to close the distance and walk down David Benavidez. Now, David Morrell is a pressure fighter. He likes to put the pressure on his opponents. He likes to walk them down, intimidate them, put fear into their minds, and think twice of what they want to do offensively in that boxing ring. That's what David Morrell does pretty well and effectively in the boxing ring. He's at best when he's comfortable walking his opponents down and setting the pace of the fight in that boxing ring. So I feel like if he cuts off the ring, make sure David Benavidez really doesn't have really any angles or can't get comfortable moving around swiftly in that boxing ring, that could play a big favor in part of David Morrell against David Benavidez in this fight. Now next, I think David Morrell is going to have to establish the power. Now David Morrell packs a punch. Now you don't get 9 knockouts by accident, and he's finished 9 out of his 11 respective opponents in his boxing ring. So he's got the power. He's a very powerful puncher. He's a natural light heavyweight fighter, has been campaigning at this division for quite some time now. Was a part of the super middleweight division like David Benavidez was, but you could tell he is a natural born for this division. He fights very comfortably at this division. And David Benavidez doesn't have the strongest chin. I mean, we've seen David Benavidez drop to the canvas in the past, and that happens in combat sports. You get clipped eventually. But David Benavidez does not have a strong chin, and it has been tested as of late, yes. But if he gets a good clean shot plush on the chin, that could be a good reason why David Morrell possibly wins this fight. And last but not least, I think David Morrell is going to have to land the right hook. Now, David Morrell, when he gets those thunderous combinations going, he's quick, he is effective, and that's a good way of how he breaks his opponents down. But the best punch in his toolbox is that right hook. And if he can land the right hook and mix it in with an uppercut, another punch selection that David Morrell lands pretty effectively is the uppercut. So if he lands the right hook and then with the uppercut, then a right hook combination, that could possibly get David Benavidez in a world of trouble, or hurt him, stun him, and possibly send him to the canvas for a couple knockdowns, or possibly land a knockout victory. So those are the following game plans that I have for David Morrell for this fight. Now, for David Benavidez, I think David Benavidez, his best bet, and one of the game plans for him, he should go to the body. I think he should go downstairs, target the body to slow down David Morrell offensively. This could slow him down, break down his will as the later rounds go on in this fight. If he continuously go to the body, David Morrell's not going to be moving effectively. You're going to take him out in terms of what he likes to do best, walk you down and set the tempo of this fight. If David Benavidez could go to the body, slow down David Morrell, he has a good chance of putting punishment on him, controlling the pace of the fight for his own right, and slowing down David Morrell offensively. Now, next, David Benavidez is going to have to land the combination. Now, David Benavidez is a really good boxer, and he progressively gets better every time you watch him in the boxing ring, especially when it comes to landing combinations. So I think, low-key, David Benavidez is a pretty fast counter puncher. And I think once he gets in the rhythm of landing those combinations, he just lets the hands fly. And 9 times out of 10, he's landing them effectively. So he's hard to stop when he gets the combinations going. I think if he could do that and win the counter-punching battle, it could go a big way for him to win this fight, whether it's knockout or by decision. That's going to be a good game plan for David Benavidez. And last but not least, he's going to have to break down David Morrell and fight David Morrell in the inside. Break him down and fight him in the inside. Now, again, like David Morrell, David Benavidez is comfortable when he walks his opponents down. And David Benavidez was a weight bully at 168 at the super middleweight division. Now he fights at this light heavyweight division. Didn't have the best performance as some when he fought under Gervonta Davis and Frank Martin card during the summer. But if he fights coming forward and he can bring that power, he still has that power at 175, not having to cut as much weight. And he can exchange in the pocket with David Morrell and fight in the inside. I got my money on David Benavidez because David Benavidez, the Mexican monster, fighting on the inside, exchanging power bombs with David Morrell, and fighting in the pocket and breaking him down in the pocket as the later rounds go on. I like that style of David Benavidez. And what I've seen him do that in the past, where he went toe-to-toe, standing in the pocket, breaking his opponents down. I've seen him do it against Caleb Plant when he really messed up his face and Caleb Plant was gushing blood when those two respective fighters fought nearly 2 years ago. I see David Benavidez do this against Demetrius Andrade. I've seen him do that in the past as well. So when David Benavidez gets going on the inside and takes care of his opponents and breaks them down, he's one hell of a fighter, and he's hard to stop. So these are the following game plans that I have for these respective fighters to follow. But, with that being said, I'm going to go with David Benavidez to win this fight by knockout against David Morrell. I like a knockout between rounds 7 through 12. I don't know when it's going to happen, but I think David Benavidez can get David Morrell out of there to retain that light heavyweight interim WBC light heavyweight title. So I think David Benavidez is going to win the counter-punching battle against David Morrell. Low-key, I just said that David Benavidez is actually a really good counter-puncher. I think you'll see that a full display of that when he counter-punches and gets the better of that exchange against David Morrell. I think David Benavidez is also going to establish the power against David Morrell. David Benavidez is a very dangerous fighter. Once he lets his hands fly and the combinations go and it establishes the power, it's basically a good night in the office for him. He also has the experience against David Morrell. David Morrell is very early in his career getting a big-time fight like this against David Benavidez, who is a former world champion. He has really been establishing his resume, beating some top-tier guys like Caleb Plant and several others. And I think also, last but not least, David Benavidez is going to go to work on the body on David Morrell. He's going to slow him down, landing some body shots so David Morrell is not comfortable in the boxing ring, setting the tempo of the fight like he would like to. And this could slow him down of trying to walk down David Benavidez in that boxing ring. So give me David Benavidez to win by knockout against David Morrell in a highly anticipated light heavyweight fight to kick off 2025 for the PBC. But that is my fight prediction between David Benavidez and David Morrell.